Welcome to the Shifter Studio. I'm your host, Coach C. I assist parents who are struggling with stress and family discord and assist them on their shift and journey back to parental peace. Welcome to our 10-part series, Navigating Parenthood. In this series, we will highlight 10 areas that parents have lifted up as areas of stress or concern on their journey to parenthood or journey in parenting. We have had 5 sessions previous to today's session. We have spoken about bullying and peer pressure, health and wellness, academic stress, technology and screen time, and maintaining a work-life balance. Today's session is probably going to be one of the more challenging sessions for me to get through. And before I start this session, I want to say I am not a therapist. If anything that you hear on this session causes you to feel anxious or not comfortable, please reach out for help. I also want to mention that the tips and strategies mentioned in this podcast were taken from the National Alliance on Mental Health, NAMI. National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI. National Alliance on Mental Illness. This session is a challenging one, not only because of the topic, but because I'm coming to you today. I don't know if you can tell that I'm tired, and it's a tired beyond a lack of sleep tired. I'm tired because the topic of tonight was actually one that I dealt with in person today. So it's hitting a little different. So please forgive me if my energy is a little lower. It's not out of a desire not to be here. It's because what I'm sharing with you, again, is what I had to navigate myself today. So I again ask if there's anything on the podcast that resonates with you, makes you think, or makes you wish that you knew the information before you heard it today, please like, subscribe, and share. There is also a trigger warning, just so that, again, before I get started, please know that we will be discussing mental health awareness. And one of the areas of mental health awareness, suicide. And I just want to make sure that before we go any further in the podcast, if you are not comfortable listening, please skip this session and go on to session 7. We know that children, teenagers, tweens go through various phases. There are often a lot of mood swings, and sometimes it's hard for parents to know the difference between what's a normal mood swing in the life of a tween or a teen, or an indication that there's something more serious wrong. So the first step is to know the symptoms. So if you are faced with having an interaction with your child or another child, and you are armed with knowing some of the symptoms, I should say in general symptoms, because mental illness and mental struggle looks different for everyone. So while this is a list that I'm providing from NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, please know that mental health issues and mental struggles look different and unique in every individual. These are just some general things that might indicate that there could possibly be issues. Low self-esteem, withdrawal, lack of interest in things that your child has previously found to be very interesting, hopelessness, academic success deterioration. So if they were an A student and all of a sudden they become a C student or F student, and there's no academic reason. They're not saying that the work is harder, or the teacher's not telling you that they need a tutor. There, there's no academic tie to it, or if there is an academic tie to it, and they demonstrate being very, very upset about the fact that they are struggling academically. Drastic changes in eating habits, eating too little, eating too much, for someone who hasn't previously demonstrated that trait, feeling guilty and ashamed about little things, lack of energy and motivation, fatigue and aches, thoughts of suicide and or death. If your child is experiencing one or a combination of these symptoms, they may need professional help. And if you're in a space where it's a may need, please act as if the space is an is need and get help for your child. There are several ways that you can provide professional help for your child. First of all, don't be ashamed. Don't run away. Don't don't try to hide, because there is no shame to be had. It's a issue or a diagnosis just like a physical issue or diagnosis, and we don't run or hide from physical diagnosis. So please make sure that you are paying attention and that you seek out the assistance that your child needs. If your child has a pediatrician, please utilize the pediatrician as a resource. Even though the pediatrician is not a mental health professional, he or she can connect you to a mental health professional that your child would benefit from. Dial a hotline, a local mental health service. Look online for resources. Uh, so I will say, make a phone call your pediatrician, call your school, and let the school counselor, let the school nurse, let someone know. You don't have to deal with it alone. Make sure that you are reaching out and indicating that you feel that your child needs help. The most important thing for you to do is not ignore the problem. Give your child the resources that they need to fight the problem. Again, I'm just going to say, please, there's no need for shame and no need for anger at your child. Just get your child the help they need as if they had the chicken pox and they needed ointment. It would be no reason to be angry at your child if they develop chicken pox. It's certainly not something that they sought out. So you would get them the help that they needed. Same for this. Please don't let shame don't let shame make you ignore an issue that could be very serious. Another way that, once we recognize that there are some things that are going awry for our child, now is not the time to shut down. Even if it's hard, which it will be, even if it's hard for us as parents to accept the fact that my child might be struggling with a mental illness, or we may be afraid, or we may feel responsible or guilty. Now is the time that your child needs you the most. So providing your child with emotional support. You're their number one person. And it's important that they know that you are there for them. And not the other way around. Spend quality time with your child. So if even if your child seems depressed and they don't want to necessarily go out, go to the mall, go to the movies, do things, if all they want to do is sit on a chair, sit beside them, sit beside them, hold their hand. If they're not into touch, just let them know you're right there. You're sitting right there and you're available when they're ready, right? Listen to what your child has to say. Remember, I probably in about 4 episodes, we've discussed active listening. Active listening, listening to understand versus listening to respond, giving full eye contact, making sure your body is faced in the direction of your child's line of vision, no technology in your hands, no ear pods in your ears, no television or music playing, just giving your child 110% of your attention. Acknowledge their inner struggles, show support without being pushy. So I know you might say, well, what's the line? If I say anything, it may come off as pushy. So sometimes we say things and we back off a little bit. While you're getting them the professional help that they need, because that's first and foremost, you can also play a part in developing the emotional support that your child needs. And it may be as simple as, I'm here when you're ready to talk, and I'm going to be sitting right here because I want you to know that you are not alone and you don't have to go through this alone. And that's it. Not asking them questions over and over until they may begin to feel like they're being browbeaten. Just make sure that they know that you're there to listen when they are ready to share. Also, another way that you can provide support is in being proactive, encouraging a healthy lifestyle. Physical and mental health are closely connected. So, someone who gets the adequate amount of movement in for their body, someone who does not overstimulate themselves by watching TV or videos or on their computer screen for hours and hours and hours at a time, they tend to be able to not avoid mental health concerns, but they have some internal tools to help them fight against the feelings. Please make sure that you remember that you are the one that sets the boundaries in your household. Watching a computer screen for 12, 13 hours straight without a walk break, without a food break, without a human break is not the best way for a young person to spend their day. Please make sure, even if they gripe about it, make sure that they are taking tech breaks. Make sure that they are doing movement breaks. A movement break doesn't have to be a full on exercise, it could be stretching, it could be breathing, it could be meditating, right? Make sure they're taking a physical and a mental break away from the technology. And again, this is not something that we have to beat them over the head with, but it's a practice that you encourage little by little, understanding that they're not going to get it perfect overnight. If it's something that you're just asking them to do for the first time, it may take a few times before they begin to do it and appreciate you suggesting it. Encouraging them to exercise regularly is definitely has a positive impact on our mental health. And doesn't have to be anything like a organized sport. They don't have to be on a team. You could just dribble a ball with them. They don't have to be on track, but you could jog with them, or you can stand and watch while they jog. Or if they don't want to jog, exercise and movement doesn't have to be formal. It doesn't have to be a program. Touching your toes, something that gets the oxygen flowing through your body and getting you up and not seated in one spot for 4, 5, 6 hours straight, right? Those things are important. Eating healthy meals, the foods that we eat can definitely have an impact on what's going on in the brain. Sometimes that's about adding veggies. Sometimes that's about reducing the quantity of sugar. All right, making sure your child gets adequate sleep. Sleep is so important, and I'm speaking to you as someone who does not do her due diligence around sleep, right? Sleep is very important. Getting the adequate amount of sleep means that your body gets to repair. Your body gets to repair overnight, and with the proper amount of sleep, you wake up energized for the day, and you're not constantly feeling tired. Sometimes when you don't get enough sleep, you feel exhausted or unmotivated, and it can make you feel worse, make you feel like I don't want to do anything, I don't want to move. And sometimes it's not necessarily brought on by a mental issue, it's a physical issue. It's a lack of energy because you're not getting enough sleep. That can make you feel bad too. Finally, making sure that your child feels connected. You wouldn't believe this, but for about 80% of the population under 18, loneliness is a very common feeling. Loneliness. Yes. Teenagers and middle schoolers surrounded by packs of their peers can still feel lonely. Especially folks in our marginalized populations, even if they have a gaggle of friends, they can still feel lonely and isolated. So please take them seriously when they come to you and say that they feel lonely. Or if they say, I don't feel right, or I feel sad, and you think about how their mother just dropped them off at your door at the school and said that they were going to Disneyland. And here you have one of the children coming to tell you that they feel like something is off. They don't feel right. They don't feel happy. Your response shouldn't be to think, "Oh, well, you should be happy. Your mom is taking you to Disney World." You should direct the child to some formalized support. Again, whether that's calling the child's pediatrician, alerting the parent calling the pediatrician, or taking them directly to a mental health clinician so that they can be in line to get the help and the support that they need right away. I'm going to cut the session short at this juncture. I hope that I hope that the strategies that have been shared here make sense to you. If you know of any other strategies that you utilize with young people who may have demonstrated suicidal ideation, please drop them in the comment section. Again, I just want to give the disclaimer that I'm not a therapist, and those recommendations come from the National Alliance of Mental Illness. Thank you so much. Let's make sure we're taking care of one another, especially our young people. I appreciate you. See you next time.